From the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference. This is Elevate Your Grind. I'm your host, Todd Rosales. It is a parade of who's who in cannabis here. I love this event. Like I've said before, it's my LinkedIn environment coming to life. You can see the conferences going on live behind us. And I am here with my guest today from Fluent Cannabis, Vic Bindi, the Director of Sales. Vic, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. I remember last year, actually, we were set up under the stairs and you guys kind of acquired the table catty corner to us, and we're taking all the meetings there. So I feel like we've gone full circle to now sit down together here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's been a rapidly evolving landscape. You know, a year in cannabis is what, 7 years in regular life.
Especially being a Florida corporation, you guys got to go a million miles a minute here, expanding across the state.
Absolutely.
I love seeing the progress Fluent's making. Give us an update of how things are going in Florida for you.
Well, last year we finished out, I think we were the fastest growing in market share company in the Florida integrated market, vertically integrated market. You know, as by the OMMU report, we grew 58% in market share with respect to THC that was dispensed. So that year was an amazing year for us, and it's given us the resources, the time, the people, the bandwidth, and the financial resources to really start expanding, both in Florida with, you're going to see a lot more dispensaries opening up. And we opened up a new one in Jacksonville about 2 to 3 weeks ago. We are on the precipice of opening a new one in Pensacola. That'll be our second in Pensacola. And then we're going to open up another one in Crestview, and we've got a bunch more on the way.
I'd like to put in a request for either Boca Raton or Delray Beach.
Okay.
Because that's where I live. I think the closest one to me is Coral Springs. So,
well, Coral Springs is one of our best.
It's a beautiful
location. Dispensaries. It's a great location. They hold a ton of market share down there. We've got a lot of patients that are very loyal to that store.
Very cool. So one of the things I've always loved, and I know you guys are outside of Florida as well too, but I love just seeing the FL lapel pin as you have, because it just
thank you very much.
It represents Florida cannabis.
It does. So Fluent, we were born, raised here in Florida, and that's where we've started. And it's not like we're a West Coast brand that's come and invaded us down here on the East Coast. But in some ways we're branching out. We're in Pennsylvania. We have a retail dispensary license in Pennsylvania, and we have a vertical license in Texas.
So talk to me about that. What does the Texas cannabis landscape look like? Because I know it's very restricted. I know it is medical, but I can know from just my friends and my experience, like Texas is starving for a traditional cannabis market. There are so many people there, and I think that you have this ecosystem of these CBD dispensaries because they want a real ecosystem of cannabis, but they can't have it.
Well, that's right. And the Texas legislators are grappling with the challenge of producing or promoting a medicinal product and straddling the line of not going across where the voters have said they don't want a recreational market. So they're working very hard at doing it right. Unfortunately, there are a lot of loopholes. And you talked about the CBD and the hemp shops. Well, a lot of those stores have taken advantage of the THC by weight, and what that has allowed them to do is to legally sell, I would say, unregulated and untested THC products in their stores, because they will create a large gummy that happens to have a small amount of THC by ratio in it, but it has plenty of THC in it. So I think that has been, in a way, a challenge to the dispensaries there, because you're competing against a different market that is underlying and inhibiting the growth.
Well, it's hard enough to compete against the illicit market that is underground, and it's always been there. It's always going to be competition. It's another thing to compete against a pseudo illicit market that does not seem illicit into the eyes of the consumer.
Absolutely right. And that's where the challenge exists, because for all those medicinal patients that we look to serve, the ones that are, they're struggling with cancer treatment, anti-nausea, everything, rheumatoid arthritis, that we know that cannabis has very real medicinal powers, positive medicinal powers. A lot of those people are choosing not to get recreational cards, not to get medical cards, and they're just going through these hemp shops. And that, I think that's inhibited the growth of the medicinal market, because I think last time I looked, it was about 49,000 medicinal card holders in a state that has a greater population than Florida. In Florida, we're 800 and probably 815,000 as of last week.
Significant number.
So think about that. That's 20 times. We've got 20 times more card holders in a state that has a third the land mass. So there's a lot of challenges in Texas.
The crazy thing to me, going back to that, and I know we were going to talk about Texas for a second, is I love to see the progress that Florida's made. So Florida has something like $1.2 billion in cannabis sales. And at the time, it only had 700,000 patients, which is we're the number 5 or 6 market at this point.
Yes.
And everybody above us is all recreational. It's funny
Yes.
for me to see the top 10 list, see Florida there in that star. It says medical. I can only imagine if we just turned the state on tomorrow where it went recreational, even without the tourists being able to buy, the size of this market we would have, it would be right up there, in my opinion, with California.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would eclipse it. I mean, you know, if you look at how many medicinal cannabis patients we have, like I said, around 800,000 plus, it'll probably go 7 to 7.5 million recreational or adult use users.
Which is crazy because you can't fudge those numbers. That's the only way that you could buy product is through the metric system by having a card and going into a licensed dispensary. Absolutely. It's not like we can pad these numbers somehow. So that's what blows my mind, is just how big and how desirable a recreational cannabis market in Florida will be.
Well, I think that it's going to be up to the voters, but I think that paradigms are changing. Yeah. You know, I'm a 55-year-old adult male who is flying fighters for the Navy for 30 years of my life. And here I am in the cannabis marketplace. You know, my undergrad was in chemistry. My graduate degree is in systems engineering. I understand the chemistry behind it. I understand that cannabis is a very real healing plant that has, you know, there is no lethal dose, but we promote an alcohol industry that you could drink yourself to death in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Aspirin is more dangerous to you than cannabis.
Yep.
And when we look at a world that is faced with challenges of opioid crisis or opioid abuse and other prescription drug abuse, people who are really trying to find some way that they can work through, you know, pain in the rough spots of their lives, cannabis it's an amazing natural plant that we have legislated it away from us for all the wrong reasons.
That's the one thing that's always interesting to me is that the world, the general population is moving more and more towards these natural healing, these natural ailments, natural foods, the things that you're putting in your body, natural. But at the end of the day, pharmaceuticals are winning over cannabis, which is one of the most natural plants, and that just doesn't make sense to me. Why?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of money, and there's just big pharma, and there's lobbying, and I think that's why it's so difficult to get a positive measure on the ballot box and passed, because there are a lot of forces working against us. And when I say us, I think it's just reasonable Americans that are making sound choices, great choices when they're well educated and they aren't filled with propaganda.
I want to jump back to Texas here because I'm very interested. And for the longest time, I've said I think Texas is going to legalize well before anybody else agrees to that. And mainly because I know the desire for it, and they like business in Texas too. Yeah. So, you know, do you see movement in the legislature where they're looking at these hemp and CBD shops and they see people trying to like live in these gray areas and bend the rules? Is there any kind of legislature that looks like, hey, this is where the market's going, the genie's out of the bottle, maybe we should get in front of it before it gets out of hand?
Well, I definitely think that the legislators understand that issue exists, and we work with those legislators. I mean, we're one of 3 license holders there, so we work with them. They consult with us, and I would say that they are honestly trying to work toward a set of rules within their, you know, Department of Safety that allows for companies like Fluent to provide to the population what the population legally wants, in a way that we don't have to compete with those who are trying to work around the rules. Yeah. So every day they're finding these loopholes and they're trying to write code that will address it. But politics, it's a slow moving machine. And I think that while their hearts and their intent is in the right direction, there's a lot of inertia that they got to work through. I think they're heading in the right direction. And I think it's a lot like the rest of society. I mean, we are changing paradigms all the time. 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have thought the way I think now. But the more you learn, the more your eyes are opened, and the better decisions you're going to make.
It's beautiful, and I love seeing companies like you guys flourish, especially in this state. I love seeing the new doors open. Like I said, I've put in the request formally now for either Boca Raton or Delray Beach. I know you guys will get there.
We will give us enough time.
Exactly. Vic, what can we look forward to seeing from Fluent this year that you're allowed to share? Obviously, I know some great secrets.
Well, and we're number 6 in the state, but we've done that basically on smokable flower, vape cartridges, gels. We have not had a viable concentrate product until now. Beautiful. You're going to see concentrates coming out from Fluent very soon, and probably, I don't want to make a liar out of myself, but I'm hoping so. We're probably going to have a line of chocolates released at 420.
Beautiful, man. Well, Vic.
And our chocolates, I've tried them. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Live chocolates, are they a little bit quicker acting than your traditional edibles?
The chemical process of it being digested and going through the liver is going to be ostensibly, it's going to be the same.
Okay.
But it is going to be, I'll tell you, it's going to be delicious.
That's awesome.
So, we're releasing in dark chocolate, which is fantastic.
I love that, man. Vic, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.